Did you ever think about what you wanted to do when you retire? Well, June Mays, whose home we're at in Swanee, Tennessee, went to England for a year and studied landscape design. Then she started her own landscape business. And when she got a little tired of that, then she decided, I'm just going to focus on my home here in Swanee. June, thank you so much for letting us come today.
You're welcome, Rita.
And tell us a little bit about the fence, first of all, and what it was designed for.
Well, it's a deer fence, as you can see. It's the biggest problem of landscaping in Swanee, but this is the way to overcome it. I had this gate built because I saw one just like it in England and loved it, took a picture, took it to a metal worker, and he did it, and I love it.
June, you told me before you actually have a 3-in-1 garden here. So tell me about the 3 areas.
So this is the sun-loving garden, and later on we'll see the drought-tolerant garden and the shade garden.
Okay, and let's start off right off the bat with that beautiful vine right there.
Yes, this is Clematis texensis. My goal is to have a climbing vine on every shrub.
All right, and the bees sure love that.
Yes, they do.
And then we zip over here to the purple coneflower, which looks so beautiful against your Japanese maple and your Native American beautyberry, which is a great pollinator shrub, native. And what you got here? What kind of hydrangeas?
Next to the Annabelles, and we have lots of Annabelles here. And I love to share those with my friends.
And the bees are enjoying the pollen on that too, so that's really cool. You've got a native dogwood here.
Still living.
Little Bonariensis that the silver-spotted skipper's enjoying right there.
And another one in front of the Phlox pilosa.
Yeah, I like the way you've repeated, you know, the things that work.
Look how the purple is picked up in the blue-purple of the Veronicastrum.
Oh, that's gorgeous. This is, common name of this is speedwell, very common plant in nurseries and everywhere, and I love your introduction of the chartreuse color there. It's so pretty and it plays well off this hydrangea, the Annabelle in the background. So bees, pollinators, lots of stuff love that speedwell. And it comes in so many colors now. You can get pink and blue and purple and everything. Oh my gosh, you got a yucca.
The yucca, and the white yucca is going to really look good when this white buckeye blooms in about 2 weeks. And of course the Annabelles will still be in bloom at that time. And look at how the eucomis picks up the color of the snail sculpture.
That's great. That's great. I love that.
And here's St. Francis, and he is picked up by the smoke bush, Cotinus grace. You see the inflorescence here looks like smoke.
June, I love the shrubbery you've got in here, the variegated American beautyberry. I've never seen that before. Got a great blue wild indigo over here, some peonies in there, asters that are going to come on in the fall. Got your Amsonia, some phlox. It's just, you've got a great variety.
Right.
And love your viburnum there.
And look how nice that looks underneath the forest pansy red bud and the chartreuse red bud.
But what I really love out here is your St. John's wort, because it's such a great pollinator plant for bees. It has so much pollen. Doesn't have a lot of nectar, but it's got pollen. And this is more like a ground cover.
This is the
St.
ground
John's
cover,
wort.
Hypericum, and over here is the shrub version of Hypericum.
Right here.
It hasn't bloomed yet.
It's not blooming yet, but it will in just a few weeks or possibly even this week. So,
And look at this rose. It buds yellow, but it blooms pink. So it's a wonderful rose called Urban Legend.
okay. June, you have got so much depth and coverage here in all of your beds. I don't see how a weed could even survive in this.
That's a good point, because there are a lot of things to contrast, like these 2 red buds here, forest pansy and golden sunset. And underneath it we have a whole bevy of black-eyed Susans waiting to bloom. The variegated red-stemmed dogwood and valerian. And look how it has made its own way. I planted it here, but it was happier in the gravel, and I'm happy for it to be here.
Things jump, don't they?
They do. So did the catmint, and so did the dianthus.
Yeah.
This is not irrigated. That is irrigated.
I was going to ask you about that. Okay. So you have a sprinkler system over there in
Have
the
a
sun
sprinkler
garden.
system in the sun
Here,
garden.
here they're on their own.
They're on their own.
Okay. What was the inspiration behind the drought-tolerant garden? And please tell us about this beautiful wall that's here.
Well, the wall was built by Dan Pate, a local landscape professional. And the inspiration is because at the time we started this garden, we were having a lot of drought. And if you want to have a beautiful garden, it is possible. It doesn't have to look like a desert. And that's what we tried to do here.
Okay. And you have a gorgeous native bush honeysuckle back here, not the invasive kind, but the native kind, and it attracts all kinds of pollinators. It's a wonderful shrub. And also
Over here we have
sweet shrub.
the sweet shrub called Simply Sensational. It's a beautiful deep burgundy color flower.
What do you do for mulch? And do you have to put extra mulch in here since it's a drought-tolerant garden?
I mulch everything.
You mulch
and
everything.
I mulch
What
a
do
lot.
you use? People
This is just
love to know.
from my tree guy. This is his wood chip pile.
Okay.
And when I order it, he says, "Do you want old or new chips?" And so sometimes I go for old, sometimes I go for new.
Okay.
But we like to lay that on thick. We have some cascading plants here that I did not plan. They just are happy that way, and it makes me happy. This is Phlox Drummondii, and over here we have more catmint falling over the cladding the wall here. And next to that we have beautiful, phenomenal lavender.
The milkweed is working its magic in your garden. There are bees all over it and other little bitty pollinators. So that's the butterfly weed, orange milkweed that we all love and enjoy. But this plant, I have not seen. Tell me about that.
Well, you've seen rose campion,
Yes.
Lychnis coronaria.
Yes.
This is Lychnis coronaria alba. It was given to me by a friend because it's so different.
It is indeed.
And it, of course, has jumped the fence too and is down
Oh,
here.
it's down here. That is the same thing.
And
Well,
one
aren't
is
you
in bloom.
lucky?
Yes.
One of the biggest problems people have, or at least that they tell me about, is they know the plants they want to put in, but how do you put them in the right place? You have designed over 100 gardens for other people. Where do you start? When you see a blank slate, what do you do
You
first?
have to listen to the land. So if you know you want to have a drought tolerant, and you know you want to have sun, and you know you want to have shade, how are they going to fit together? So you walk your land and you figure out where the best spot is.
Different times of day?
That's right.
In different seasons?
And here we had to put French drains in when we moved into the house, and so we pulled up everything that was here and replaced it with gravel, and that made this a great spot to contrast with this wall, and that made a good place for the drought-tolerant garden.
Gorgeous the way you have taken this and built right up in a crescendo to the stuff at the top. So here in the shade garden, I noticed you have used natural wood to do the edgings. Do you use the same mulch here that you did in the drought tolerant?
I do.
Okay. And I think you use fallen leaves too? You told me earlier?
I
Okay.
do. I chew up the leaves and I use them to amend the soil.
Okay. So no leaf raking here, huh?
No.
Just let them fall where they are. And the native Pipsissewa there is so
Yes, it's one of my
gorgeous.
favorite plants. It
I
was here
love
when
that.
we got here, and I just love it.
And it stays green all winter just like that,
It
doesn't
does,
it?
yes.
It's gorgeous, a little native plant.
And over here you'll see the penstemon, which has jumped the fence into the path, and I like to leave it because I like for it to reseed and self-sow.
We've each got a favorite plant on each side of the pathway here. Why don't you tell about yours first?
I love this dogwood Samaritan. It's just such a nice contrast with the plants around it, the pieris, the hosta, the itea. It all blends together.
How did you get this design for this shade garden? I mean, how did you come up with this?
Well, a lot of it is because I hadn't really done much of a shade garden before, and I wanted to try things. And so when you want to try something, you don't start out with 9, you start out with less than that. So that's why you see fewer plants, except in areas like this, Pachysandra procumbens, which is a native ground cover. It's not the Asian Pachysandra that you see in a lot of people's front yards. and it has totally spread. That started out as 2 plants.
It blooms so early in the year.
And it's
really
a
early.
good contrast with these other plants that are around it.
Love that. You have fabulous maple leaf viburnum here, which is a native shrub, and the flowers. It flowers kind of diminutive, not really big flower, but the berries, the birds absolutely love the berries. So
We'll have a lot of birds after this later on this year. And this plant was here when we bought the house. It was not planted by anyone.
so it's native, like native to this ground.
Yes.
That's the best native you can get. I love the way that this is not too crowded here. Everything's kind of spaced out like it would be in a woodland garden. Did you do that on purpose?
Yes, I wanted to have plenty of room for 2 people to walk on the path, and I wanted to have a definite separation between the planting area and the path, and that's where these fallen limbs come in handy, and there are plenty of those around here. And if one rots, I just throw it away and get another one.
That's handy. This spot, June, you have put in a whole lot of the variegated Solomon seal, but then you only have a hosta or 2, and then you have, tell everyone about this.
Right, just one of several plants, but they look good together. The fairy wand, the jack in the pulpit, the hosta, some ferns, and the heuchera all use a great background here in the variegated Solomon seal. And look up, that is the big leaf magnolia, and it gives the perfect amount of shade for this garden. Right
and
here.
dapple shade, which is so beautiful. Where did you get that?
This was done by Robert Taylor, who is a sculptor in Birmingham.
Okay.
And he did several of the copper sculptures around the garden.
Okay, I love that. You have so much experience with garden design. Do you have any advice for people that may be wanting to design their own garden?
Well, I think doing the triage that I had to do to get ready for your visit is an important thing. If you take your garden and divide it up into beds, just with names, and then try to identify every plant that you have, and then do a spreadsheet that shows the light, the soil, the bloom, the height, it really tells you these should not be together. These should be together. So I'm going to be doing a lot of moving of plants after your visit.
So don't be afraid to move your plants around.
No,
I guess
don't
that's
be afraid to do that, and spend the time making a list of what you have.
Okay.
Because sometimes these little plant labels disappear
Very
thanks
often
to the squirrels.
June, thank you so much for letting us come to your garden today. It is absolutely exquisite. I have learned a lot from you, and wish you were still in the business so you could.
I would have no time for my own garden.
That's true. I know how that goes, but thank you so
You're
much
so
for
welcome.
letting us come.
And thanks for coming.
We enjoyed it. If you love gardening as much as I do, you'll want to subscribe to this channel. We showcase not only gardens, but gardeners as well, and the joy that the two of those meshed together can bring.